Hey everyone, Kathy the Vegan Prepper here, bringing you another semi-weekly update of the things that I have put up in the last week for my food preservation. Just sort of sharing little by little. That's how I stock usually, especially my home preparations. It's little by little. And then at the end of the video, I'll share a little bit of life update stuff and some of the challenges that I have been facing with keeping my stocking going, but it feels on topic for this video because that affects the rate of stocking, and I think a lot of people can relate to that, so I will go ahead and touch on that a little bit in this video, but I am trying to keep these a little shorter. So this time around, it was a lot of ferments because of the fact that that doesn't take very much time to put together. So I will go ahead and start with the ferments that I have done. So this is an old one. I don't know, I might have brought it up before, but in a past video, I started this project with the fermented garlic. And so I believe it's done. So it's only been about 3 weeks, and fermented garlic is supposed to sit for 4 weeks, but it's a lot warmer in my kitchen, I think, than a lot of kitchens. And when I smell it, it just looks like it's done. So this is about to go into the fridge. This is not something that I've done, but I did want to touch on that because it's summer, and I know it's not just summer here. I feel sometimes like I act like I own summer because I live in Phoenix. It's like, no, let me tell you about summer. No, it's like, I understand everyone is experiencing summer and everyone is experiencing probably warmer kitchens. So if you're doing ferments, it's possible your ferments will be done a little sooner than you expect them to be done because of the warmth. And so that's the main reason I'm mentioning this. So this is going to be going in the fridge like a week sooner than I was originally planning because I think it's ready. Okay, and then the next one is my, oh man, it's leaking. It's got some activity going on. My little jar my very little jar. Oh yeah, it's like leaking right now, actually. That's funny. Of fermented garden tomatoes and garden basil. So I'm growing these really cute little yellow pear-shaped tomatoes, which do really well in our heat here. And I threw in some of my basil also from my garden. And so this is just what I've gotten so far. I haven't gotten very much this year yet. But yeah, we'll see. Hopefully I get more, but I figured I'll go ahead and ferment these guys. Some of them have been sitting out for quite a while because Mr. Vegan Prepper wants to use tomatoes to make some garden salsa with our jalapenos that are coming in really well, as always. Although I will say I'm noticing the birds, I think, are going after our jalapenos as soon as they get the slightest reddish hint. There's holes in our jalapenos now, which I've never experienced before. And I'm wondering, what on earth birds are they? Like, they're just crazy Arizona birds, or do they not experience heat like spice like we do? I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to have to start picking my jalapenos green. But anyway, yeah, so he wants to make some salsa, but he just hadn't gotten to it yet. So I went ahead and fermented these guys. We have eaten some of them and they're really delicious. But yeah, I want to get some of them fermented. And actually, I'm very interested in making a fermented salsa. And it wasn't until I finished that I remembered I have all of these grape tomatoes in my fridge for some reason not being eaten. I don't know. My boys used to snack on these. Like, I used to be able to buy these and then they would just disappear. But that is not what's been happening this time around. So when I put that together and I realized I put basil in, and if I want to make salsa, throwing basil in the tomatoes is not necessarily the best thing for the salsa, but I realized I could probably make a fermented salsa by fermenting my grape tomatoes that are in my fridge. So this one, though, I had to do a little bit of troubleshooting because it wasn't like, there's no puddle around the base. Like there's no sign that any activity was happening in here. And I did this like a day or two ago. And at that point I should be seeing bubbling. So I took the lid off and sure enough, there was a tiny bit of white mold on the top. And I was like, no. So I still don't know if I'm going to be able to save this. That was just this morning. I scooped the mold off. And I just thought, well, maybe I didn't add enough salt to the water. So I added some more salt. And then hopefully this actually turns into a ferment and doesn't just spoil. But I will update you guys on the progress of that. It is definitely, and again, I don't know. I feel like I need to share times when things go wrong too, because I don't want anybody thinking that every single thing I do works all the time. It absolutely does not. So you just got to keep moving forward no matter what happens. And every time is a learning experience. So yeah, anyway, we'll see. Hopefully adding some extra salt fixes it. I also prayed over it. I was like, seriously, I bless you, little good bacteria, grow, multiply. So yes, yeah. All right. Anyway, this is me. Okay. So anyway, also I have apple cider vinegar, but it's actually not apple cider vinegar, it's apple core vinegar. And so I have finally strained it. It's actually pretty old. I did this like a month past when I was supposed to. But I've strained it, and now this is what I have going as a second ferment. So now this is going to sit for like a month, maybe only like 3 weeks, and go through a second ferment to actually turn into the vinegar. So you can find a lot of really good process videos for apple cider vinegar, apple core vinegar out there. So that is exactly what it sounds like. It was just apple cores, a little sugar, a little water, and you let it sit for a while, and you end up with this gorgeousness, and it actually smells like kombucha. It smells amazing. Like I want to just drink it, but I'm not drinking it. I'm turning this into vinegar. And so that is so that I can just have my own homemade source of vinegar, and I don't have to always rely on the store. This is going to be, I believe, the third time I've made an apple core vinegar. And this is actually the largest batch I have made so far. I would like to transition to using only my own homemade apple core vinegar for things like salad dressings, even possibly cleaning and things like that. However, I will still use store-bought apple cider vinegar in any kind of canning recipes or pickling or whatever that call for store-bought things, because a consistent acidity is very important to the safety of those kinds of preparations, especially in canning. So yeah, I'll still be using some store-bought for certain things, but I'm planning on mostly using my own homemade vinegars for, all the things I already just mentioned. So I don't need to mention it again. And speaking of the apple core vinegars smelling like kombucha, I don't know. This has never happened. This is the first time this has ever happened, and I don't know why. Little fermentation fairies like blessing me or something. I don't even know. But every single one of those apple core vinegar jars grew a SCOBY. And if you don't know what a SCOBY is, it is let's see if I remember, symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast, I believe is what that sounds like or stands for. And I will put it on the screen. So you'll know that it's right because the right thing will be right here. And that's what you make kombucha with, is like a SCOBY. It's like a, I don't know, like a gelatinous pancake or something that builds layer by layer by layer. And that is the thing that cultures kombucha. And so I was doing all kinds of research and could not find a clear answer on whether or not I could brew essentially something like a kombucha from an apple cider vinegar SCOBY, although of course in my case it's not apple cider vinegar, it's apple core vinegar. And I don't keep meaning to belabor that point, but it is different. Apple cider vinegar is made, as you might think, with apple cider, and then the apple core vinegar is just created with like your apple leavings. I'm going to actually make another giant batch of apple cider vinegar because I still have a big box of apples that we picked from my friend's orchard. I still haven't gone through those, but that is on the docket for this week. I'm going to turn all of that probably into like a chunky applesauce. And then all of the leftover cores and peels and all of that will go and make another apple core, apple peel vinegar. So I'm not going to waste it, but then it's going to get composted. So I love it because you can take the thing, and so it ultimately doesn't get wasted at all, but like you get another use out of it even before it goes to get composted, which is using it still and not just wasting it. But I don't know, I really like that. The more stuff I do like this, the more I like it. Like I'm just like, gosh, it's just like so good. Like it just makes so much sense, and I can buy fewer vinegars. I can make my own vinegars. All I need is water and fruit scraps, basically. Actually, that's another thing. Shoot, I'm getting ahead of myself like I do. But I was thinking about turning my strawberry tops, because you guys know, a lot of you, if you watch the channel, you know that I like to dehydrate my strawberry tops for putting into teas to make them fruity. but also to like infuse lemonades and things like that. Like it's really delicious. And also, as a point of trivia, the green part of the strawberry top is very similar in its action and use as red raspberry leaves. So it's very similar, so really helpful for female reproductive systems and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of nutrition in the greens on the top of the strawberry. And so it'd be really great to not get rid of that, right? So I actually want to take now and turn strawberry tops into a strawberry top vinegar. And actually I might go ahead and make a big fruit salad today and just start that today. But anyway, back to the apple core vinegar. It grew scobies. So I'm going to try to show you guys. So I am now brewing what I hope will be a kombucha, basically, from these scobies. So you see right here, these are the scobies. Now, some of them are more solid than others, but like, look at that one. That is a legit thick, like 1/2 inch thick SCOBY. I mean, it looks exactly like a SCOBY. I have done kombucha in the past, and that's exactly what it looks like. So I don't know. I don't know where the kombucha bacteria comes from. I imagine it comes from somewhere. Like it isn't, it is just like some sort of natural place. And I'm wondering if apple cores just have it or something. But like I said, it's never happened before. So I don't even know. But we're gonna see. Hopefully that will turn into kombucha in the next week or so. So the very next time I do one of these videos, hopefully I will be showing off my kombucha in a second ferment with a big SCOBY on top. And then the long-term plan for this too, so this is a gallon jar. This is one of my gallon jars I just got from Azure Standard, and I'm absolutely loving having some larger jars now. And hopefully it will be up for its second ferment, and I'll get a nice big SCOBY and I can start brewing more batches. And one of the things I want to do too is because we do have a Berkey filter now, but before we had the Berkey, what we had was one of those typical like water systems with the 5-gallon jug on top, which we would go get filled. I'd send my son to go fill the jars and then he'd bring them home, and they would go onto the whatever that is, the dispenser spout thing. But a lot of people turn that very ceramic crock into a kombucha on tap setup, which is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So just Google kombucha on tap and you should find websites and instructionals for how to do it. So once I get myself a nice big SCOBY, hopefully if I do, and I get some nice big collections of SCOBY, I think I'm actually going to start brewing really large batches of kombucha in that old water dispenser. And then that way, hopefully we can end up with just like kombucha on tap. Like we can just get like a small glass and have it. And yeah, I just think that that's fantastic. So that's something that I've been wanting to do for years, like ever since I first discovered kombucha years and years and years ago. And I started researching how to make it myself, and I was making it myself, but then it was kind of like too much trouble. And I only had the little 1/2-gallon jars, and I think my kitchen, again, is just kind of too hot, and stuff was fermenting too fast. And I don't know. I was, even though I was interested, I was not the person I am now. I think now I will be more on top of it and take care of it. But still, the kombucha on tap thing sounds really good. So yeah, I want to research that. So this is kind of me starting, hopefully, that. We'll see. I will update you guys in like a week. I'll let you know how the apple cider vinegar SCOBYs, or the apple core vinegar SCOBYs, turned out, if they made kombucha. I am tentatively optimistic because, well, I should pray over it, right? Because it is, I don't know if you can tell, you probably can't tell from there, but it's like a little cloudier than it was yesterday. And so hopefully that means that it's going, and it's going to ferment, and it's going to be good. So, okay. Last thing. Oh my goodness. I'm already at 15 minutes. But hopefully it's still useful. I try not to just chat about random things. But there's a lot of stuff where it's like, you can't just say boom, 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 boom. Cause it's like, if I just did that, I might as well just like have a blog and post just like a list and not talk about anything, right? Like I try to give extra stuff. Anyway, whatever. So this is not new. I'm showing off older stuff again. But this is some of the spelt and soft white wheat, which I believe I talked about last time. And they were in their half-gallon jars, but like I said, I'm loving these gallon jars I have now. And I put them together since I like to grind the sprouted spelt and the sprouted soft white wheat at the same time. I put them in the same jar, and I decided to layer it, and it's so pretty. That's it. It's just the update. It's pretty. Okay. So there you go. And then for the final thing that I managed to get done this week, it was not a ferment. It was a big project. So I'm surprised I managed to even get this done. But I went ahead and did another entire gallon of the hard white wheat, and it's sprouted. I don't know if you can see, like if the camera will focus, but it's sprouted hard white wheat. And so I went and sprouted it. I soaked it, I sprouted it, and then dehydrated it. And so the way that I do it is I have to do it in batches because I don't have enough of these jars available for doing like a giant batch at once, or all at once, but also the dehydrator won't fit at all. So what I do is I do 6 cups at a time, which I have figured out and learned at this point that 6 cups, so this is a half-gallon ball jar, 6 cups is the maximum that I can sprout in 2 half-gallon jars. And so it'll completely fill the jar once it's all sprouted, and it gets harder and harder to like rinse and stuff. But it only takes like a day and a half or 2 days, so it's not that big of a deal. And I do rinse. And then also right now, as an FYI, I have a bin that I put in the sink. And as I'm rinsing, I dump the water into the bin, and then that every time I rinse, it goes and gets dumped on one of our trees. So I'm using all of the water that I'm using when I'm doing this process. It's just so important, especially in a drought, in a desert. But yeah, and it works, right? Like water is water. It's just like a little bit of stuff rinsed off, and things love it. So anyway, I'm using that water up. But yeah, 6 cups is the maximum that you can use, and have it work with 2 half-gallon jars for the sprouting, because I have like the little sprouting, like green sprouting lids. And so basically the process looks like 6 cups of hard white wheat, or hard red wheat in this case, in the morning, gets soaked in a giant stainless steel mixing bowl with filtered water from the Berkey. And then once that is all done soaking, I drain or pour off the water into the bin, and then the soaked grains get divided between 2 half-gallon jars. And then the little thingy gets screwed on, the sprouting lid gets screwed on, then they get turned upside down and left to sprout. And I rinse twice a day, but usually it's the very next evening is when everything gets drained again and goes into the dehydrator. So it's a very fast process. Meanwhile, the next morning I wake up, and like when I'm rinsing the first batch of sprouting grains, I go ahead and get another 6 cups of hard red wheat, and I start soaking it in a bowl with the filtered water. And then that evening, when the first batch of sprouted hard red wheat is going into the dehydrator, now I'm rinsing that off, and I'm dividing those soaked grains into the 2 half-gallon jars. And then the next evening it goes into the dehydrator after the dehydrator gets unloaded. Anyway, so I sort of combine it, and it ends up being like a 3 or 4 day process. But now I have 1 entire gallon of sprouted hard red wheat and an entire gallon of sprouted spelt and sprouted soft white wheat. And I basically did the spelt and the soft white wheat that same way. It was just 6 cups at a time. And then you can see that the finished product pretty much perfectly fills a 1 gallon jar. So anyway, yeah, that's how I do the sprouting grains. And at some point, I guess I can do a video on that. I think I already did a video on it, but I could do another one. I'm sure it wasn't very good. But anyway, so as far as challenging stuff that's going on right now, it is not necessarily challenging. Like, actually, it's really good. Super, mega, ultra, sweet, awesome blessing. Adam has a new position, and so he has moved into management at his work, which is just incredible, and it's something that we've been praying for and wanting for a very long time. He absolutely needs to be in leadership. He's just gifted. I don't know, he's quietly brilliant. Like, he's just an incredible person. And so he's doing that, but it means a new work schedule. And it's funny because he applied, but he has applied so many times. And for me personally, it took about 3 weeks for the entire application and hiring process to actually get finalized. And I'm one of those, or I have learned in the course of my life, because I am, and I mentioned it many times, I'm ADHD. My brain goes about 700 billion miles a minute. It's like light speed in here all the time in every direction. But I tend to overthink for sure. I have what is also known as disaster mind. I can like go scenarios, whatever, and think over an issue until, I exhaust myself mentally and emotionally. And just over the years, I have learned I don't think about it or let it use up space in my brain until it's real. So if it's happening, sweet. So awesome. I'm glad that you're applying. I'm glad it looks like you're about to get this job, but I'm not formulating or thinking about it until it's real. Now, obviously I do a little bit of prep. Obviously I'm a prepper and I think about stuff, but it's like I think to myself, if we lost water and we need sanitation, I need to get a bucket toilet, for instance, so that we have a way of disposing our waste sanitarily, in a sanitary way. We can dispose our waste in a sanitary way if we should come into a disaster, something like that. And I definitely will not be wasting any water in this climate flushing my toilet. So I just need to get a bucket toilet or whatever in case something ever happens like that. Okay, boom, I got my bucket toilet, I got my setup, I have wood chips, I have everything. I know what I'm going to do if that happens, and now I do not think of it again. I'm not going to sit and obsess over what could happen that would make that happen, if that makes sense. So like I can plan, and then as soon as the plan is made, I don't think about it anymore. Like it just does not cross my mind. So I consciously do that. And so like when it came for his job, it was like, okay, cool. So if you get this new job, that's awesome. And okay, you will be working some extra hours. Okay, so we'll figure that out when it happens. But he got the job and then found out all of a sudden that his days off are going to be really wonky. So he's having days off in the middle of the week and now working weekends. And so now this means that basically my entire schedule, such as it is, it's not really a schedule, it's just like this routine that I've settled into, it has to change. So over the weekend typically are the days that I don't do as much work, like because I am spending time with my husband, with my family, like we're hanging out together. We still are getting dishes done or whatever, but I'm not doing a ton of work over the weekend, like putting up food and stuff like that, because I'm spending time with my family and my husband. And so now that's going to have to shift. So it's like, it's interesting. So Monday was always my catch up day without ever like officially naming it. Monday was always the day, okay, Monday's the day that I do all the extra hand wash dishes. Usually I'm doing laundry, I'm doing something to get the house reset. So now Tuesday through Friday is when I do all of my real work in the house. And so that's not going to be able to be the way that I'm doing things anymore. And so I have to like kind of go through this and figure this out. On top of that, we also have all of this new beautiful shelving. Isn't it amazing? It's filled with random stuff right now because I had to get stuff off of my desk and make room. But then it was on this desk, and Adam decided he wanted to modify these shelves and put supports in to make them stronger before we get all of our food on there. And so I had to move all of the stuff that was on the desk in the corner from my desk, which is where I currently am, where I do a lot of my work because my business is still happening. I'm still doing orders and I need to have a clear workspace. So all that stuff had to go onto the shelves. And so we're gonna have to move all that off Adam's next day off when he is going to go ahead and fix these things. So it's like scheduling stuff, rearranging stuff and all of that. And so it's been kind of crazy, and I don't even know what day it is. Like what day is it? Oh, it is Monday. Okay, it's just like I don't even like my clock is all off, and so yeah, that's kind of what's been going on. But today, it's good. So like the house is a lot cleaner and more put together than it normally is on a Monday, again because the weekend is I didn't have a break spending time. So it's just gonna, I'm gonna adjust. But it's stuff like that comes up, and it makes it so that you don't have as much time as you normally do, and you have to sort of figure out and reframe and refocus and figure out new ways of being and new schedules and all that. So anyway, stuff like that comes up, but as we always say, moving forward, always moving forward. But yeah, anyway, that's it. And this video did get longer than I intended it to. Dang, heaven help you guys if I forget and do 2 weeks at a time again, but hopefully it's helpful. But yeah, that's a lot of what's going on, and it's a lot of really good and happy stuff, but yeah, it's just different. And my brain is like, like I had a groove. You've upset the emperor's groove, but yeah, or you've thrown off the emperor's groove, or however it goes. Anyway, I'm gonna watch that movie again now. Okay, cool. All right, so I think that will be it from me, and hopefully this was helpful at all. And like I said, I will be updating you in the next video on some of these projects. I am most excited to see how this kombucha is going to turn out. Hopefully it is kombucha. Oh my gosh, I would love it if it would be kombucha. And then my thought process on that too was I might take an unflavored raw kombucha from a store and use that as the extra liquid for starting the fermentation, rather than what I used this time was the liquid I had from the apple core vinegar. If you don't know, you brew a really strong sweet tea and then you let it cool completely to room temperature, and then you pour it over your scobies, but you also will add like a half cup to a cup of the previous ferment to get stuff started. Oh my gosh, she's grabbing the remote. Give me a second. Okay, so you add like a half cup to 1 cup of the previous fermented liquid into the sweet tea on top of the scobies to sort of get things started. So I might over time start incorporating like raw kombucha from the store to get like real kombucha scobies. Or again, I don't know, why is that not real? It looks exactly the same. So we'll see. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off, but thank you for watching. If you watched to the end, that's amazing, and I just really appreciate it. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions, you want to know anything else about any of the stuff that I talked about. And yeah, as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna go and entertain that little girl of mine. See you guys later. Bye.